Hello, fellow light beings. I think today is the day I want to shed a little light on a term I've been using a lot lately, namely timelines. Timelines. And I'm not the only one. I've been hearing a lot of other people talk about that we are about to shift timelines, or we have the invitation or opportunity to do so. And that is what I've been talking about also, because it's something I've been feeling for quite a long time, actually. And, but I'm not talking about a timeline in this 3D dimension. The timeline here is like it's a line, and like I was born here, and then I turned 5, and then we moved, and then I got married and had children. That's kind of a common third dimensional timeline. I'm not talking about that one, although I guess I am, because that is the timeline that we are fully identified with. And that's the one we are going to move beyond. And for those who are very identified in this dimension only, they go like, what are you talking about? This is all there is. I don't know where you're at with this. I'm assuming you are aware of more than just this 3D dimension that we have been walking around in for a long time. But I'm talking about that there are these parallel realities that we cannot see with our five sense mind. That's why I often talk about we need to start sensing that with our soul sense, our sixth dimensional expression. So it's very different. So that's why it's hard to move from this 3D timeline. If that's the one you are completely identified with, you will not understand what those of us talking about shifting timelines means. It's like rubbish. And so there has to be something in us first that starts sensing that there is something more than what we see, hear, taste, touch, smell, think, right? And I'm assuming you know very well what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here on my channel. So first, we need to start sensing that there is something else. The energies and frequencies that have been coming in very, very, very strongly. I think the last few days have been completely off the chart. And that's why many of us start feeling something that may be different than what we are used to, but we may not know what it is. It could be just that you're really tired and overwhelmed and sensitive, or you might start feeling some sense of expansion, or more connecting, more connected to your heart, to love, to stillness, to peace. There might be some waves that you just like, oh, this is really nice. You can say, where did that come from? So what's happening, as far as I understand, is that these frequencies are coming in so strongly, and they are helping us kind of lift out of this 3D timeline that we have been completely identified with. It's very hard to get out of that experience in 3D, the false matrix, right? It's very hard to get out of it if you don't have a sense that there is something else too. So that's why I always invite you to come in here, feel your heart, your longing, your I am presence. There's something more than what the eyes show or the ears speak to us. And one of my favorite quotes, which I love to quote frequently, is from the Gospel of Thomas, which is heaven is spread all over earth, all over the earth, but man cannot see it because man is only perceiving his or her reality through the five senses, and heaven on earth cannot be perceived through the five senses. At least as yet. I don't know what the future is going to bring, but when we start sensing into that there is something else, many times simply because we long for something better, more loving, more expanded, more just, more peaceful, more in union, more in oneness, that is because we are sensing that there is something else. So if we talk about timelines, there is an opportunity now more than ever that we can move away from this physical timeline, your life in days or months or years. That one is what we have identified with. And is it possible for us to start disidentifying from that? And it is, yes, that is possible, but it takes some willingness and some work and some effort, actually. It takes definitely a willingness to unhook from it. And yesterday's video was, I think it was called Extracting Yourself from the Matrix, or extracting your I am presence out of the matrix, because our consciousness, our I am presence is consciousness itself. That is something we have gotten embedded in this 3D reality. And it's almost like we are so stuck and identified that is literally all we know. So in order to get out of it, extract yourself out of it, first there has to be some kind of a sense or willingness or knowing that you're stuck in something that's not you, that the timeline you've been living is actually not all there is. So that's a good first step. And then, of course, we need to start sensing into the field, heaven on earth, which is something we do through our heart center, our soul sense. There's probably many words for it, but it's a feeling, it's an experience, it's a sensation, it's a knowing, it's a relaxation. There's something when you tune into that, you notice something happening inside of you, and it usually feels pretty good because you expand out of this contracted, limited state. You go, oh my God, I can breathe more now. And that is where we are now, and that is where we are moving to, at least those of us who feel something that they want something better, something more expanded, something more loving. So it's very important that we honor this something that we feel in here, and don't just dismiss it as, oh, I can never have that, oh, it's pie in the sky, oh, it happened to me before and it went away, right? All the layers. And you can watch a lot of my videos on longing. There's a playlist about how we keep basically preventing ourselves from expanding out and staying there, instead of going, whoop, it's not safe. Let me go back here to what seems safe. This one here, the linear timeline. But it's pretty boring, right? Haven't we kind of had enough right now? There's wars and there's disease and there's struggle and hunger and starvation, and oh my God, it's endless, right? And it just keeps going. It's never going to end because that timeline is made of that. That is simply the dualistic, false matrix timeline. It has its own experience. And Kitty, do you want to come up? Yeah. So once we start at least expanding out a little bit and start sensing, there's something here. then you will notice that there might be many, many, many parallel realities. And there's about as many experiences that we can have and express as we can maybe think of or what's being downloaded to us. So it's not like we go from this one to this one. No, we leave this one behind and then we start expanding into something that's much bigger, something that's much more interesting and inspiring and nourishing, fulfilling. And in here, we just learn to make ourselves available for that. And the timeline that many of us are talking about now is, moving from this linear one to one that is heart-based, that is divinely connected and inspired, that does not have all that contraction that we have here, that does not exist here. So there might be many timelines. I don't know, I'm not an expert in timelines, but I do have some experience and some kind of inner knowing or something. Well, come on. Well, hello. Hello. Um, to know that there is something else. And personally, I'm like very driven or moved towards that. It's like being moved towards something that is bigger than what I'm used to because it feels too limited now, too contracted. So I want to invite you, of course, to find where you want to go when you come out of this tight timeline. Where do you want to go? You go, well, I want more peace in my life. And I want to be surrounded by loving people who also want more peace, where we resonate. Or I want to be surrounded by people who are, this is my thing, who like to tune into the field and bring in what the inspiration that comes from there and how that will manifest on the earth. It's like bringing heaven to earth, right? The heaven is here, heaven is spread all over the earth, but man cannot not see it, but man can sense it. And that's something I'm just really into, to just tuning in with others and just bringing it in whatever way we do that. So who knows what timeline? Timeline is probably not even a real thing once you get out of this linear one. But there is something, and maybe it's just a completely never-ending, infinite timeline with all the possibilities, which it seems to be. So we can start moving in that direction. We can call it parallel realities. And that sounds a little more, maybe more real than just a timeline, and other timelines. Like, no, I'm done with timelines. I don't want to live in time anymore. Great. So the next timeline is timeless, right? So let's find out, what does it mean to live in timelessness? And of course, I've been using those terms of timelines because it helps when we are in this timeline and we can relate to that. It helps us to receive another way of looking at it that we can still relate to. But eventually that is also going to go. It's all going to go. All the old is going to go. So we can make room for the new. If you haven't listened to my video yesterday with a short, not really a meditation, but an invitation to really come into I am, check that out. It might help you to start realizing how we're being driven into the false matrix reality, which is this timeline of limitation and, whatever else, things we don't want. And that we can extract ourselves out of that, coming in to the heart's longing, to our I am presence. And then we start letting ourselves Lean into that. Let go into that. Surrender. Soften. Open up to. Make ourselves available, like an open prayer of, show me. I do not know what this is yet, but I can sense there is something. So you ask this something. Show me what I am. So that's something I go into a little bit in yesterday's video, if you feel moved to check that out. I hope that clarified a little bit about the timeline thing. I'm learning about it myself. I'm learning about everything I talk about. It's all just coming through as this new energy, and many of us make ourselves available for it. And we learn as it comes through, which is really cool, actually. It's not like you have to go and study. It's like, no, you just sense, tune in and then see what comes through. Usually it comes through as a felt sense and an energy or clarity or presence. It's different for all of us. So my friends, please comment, let me know. Is this helpful? Do you have something you want to add to that? I would love to learn more. And feel free to like, share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't yet. If you want to receive regular, what's it called, notifications when I put out a new video, which is almost every day, by the way. I'm probably going to start doing it less soon, but I've been thinking that for a while, and I'm still doing it almost daily. But anyway, you will get the notification in that little bell up in the YouTube bar. And then you can see when there's a new YouTube showing up if you want to keep watching them. I'm wishing you a blessed day, moving from the old timeline to a more expanded timelessness one.